I think we are in business.
No,
There we go. Now we got her. We were having some technical difficulties, so we're
I am
just for a
just
couple minutes.
looking for a parking place right now so I can park.
Oh, all right. Um,
Even though us women kick tail at multitasking, I'm going to park it.
okay. No worries. Um, so I'm sure everybody is curious what is happening because there's just two of us today and not the normal three. So there's been some changes, and I'd like to introduce everybody to Terry or TJ or Granny, whatever you want to. I guess, what do you want them to call you?
All of the above works. TJ is the most popular.
Yeah,
Grant
I do. I
is
switch back and forth between Terry and TJ, and
yep.
often,
He's just the CB.
honestly, I'll say to Ron, I'll be like, I'm calling TJ. And he's like, who's TJ? And I'll say Terry. And he's like, who's Terry? And I'm like,
Granny.
well, like, so it is Wednesday. Today is our Wednesday live show. We are going to tackle relationship goals in the trucking life. Being in a trucker family is incredibly challenging for both the truck driver and the wife at home. So we have an interesting it's interesting in the way that I am at home. I'm a stay-at-home mom now. Not something that was ever on my to-do list, to be honest. I've always worked, and not working is blah, killing me. But on the flip side, we have Terry, who is the truck driver, and her hubby's at home. So her perspective is very different than somebody else, than mine. So we're going to talk through. I love your shades.
So bright out today. I can't handle it. My eyes are really dry today.
I think it's like 80 degrees up here in Pennsylvania today. I'm just going to change
right here.
Let's do this. Okay, I like that better. Okay. I felt like we were too big. Okay. So anyway, so I am a stay-at-home mom, and I found an article today, and I shared it with the Divas. The 7 tips for surviving relationships, especially in a trucking career. So the first tip was to spend as much time as possible together as possible, which when you're in a trucking family, that's really hard to do. Ron,
right.
It is. And so for me now, there's local drivers, there's regional, there's over the road, there's yard jockeys. I mean, there's so many different avenues that could be in a truck, someone could be in a trucking industry. So Ron is a regional driver. He's home Fridays and Saturdays for the most part. Sometimes once a week he gets to come home during the week. But generally speaking, he's home Fridays and Saturdays, and we try to pack in a lot of things in those 2 days. And sometimes it's yard work. Sometimes it's grocery shopping. Sometimes it's just the house hasn't been, sleeping or cleaning or whatever the case may be. And so, we kind of have to remember how to define that spending time together. Like I forget to do that all the time because he comes home and the first thing we do is, this needs to be done. This needs to be done. And we don't actually get to enjoy our time together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's similar for us, which I think is why I'd rather stay out a couple extra weeks, like stay out 2 to 3 weeks and get like 5 days off. That has worked better for us, especially for me, because when I get home, the first thing I want to do is clean house and do all the deep stuff that, Paul doesn't do. And my mother lives with us as well, but she's very ill, battling terminal cancer. So he takes care of her full time. Plus he works a full-time job, and he works 50 to 60 hours a week. So I when I get home, I jump right in and pick up the slack. Like I'll do all the vacuuming, the dusting, things like that, the mopping. So that's kind of my first day, is really just concentrating on the house. And then,
Yeah.
then the second day it's laundry, it's what I need for the truck, and then whatever time is left for me. That's
Right.
what works for us. But it's not easy. Um,
Yeah.
a few decades out here, I kind of got used to being solo. And then 2.5 years ago, Paul came out and rode with me for a while. Well, 3 years ago now, the end of this month. And he rode for 2.5 years with me.
Oh wow.
And
That's
when
so
my mom
nice.
was, he had to go home. And he doesn't drive at all. He has no interest in it. And it's harder now because now I know what I'm missing by having him with me.
Yeah.
So it's harder
Yeah.
now than it used to be. It's a little
Mhm.
lonely now. But
Yeah.
in this industry, honestly, it can either make or break a relationship. It can. You have to have such a solid foundation of trust to make this work.
Mhm.
I'm out here and away from him. He's at home. Um, and you're talking, in some cases, some husbands stay out 2 months at a time, 6 weeks. That takes a lot of trust from a woman to know that her man's out here behaving, and vice versa. There's a lot of women that can't handle it, and they step out of the marriage, the relationship. So this industry it can be brutal on a marriage. It really can, or a relationship, but it can also make you stronger.
Yeah, for sure. When Ron first moved up here, he was like, "You're never gonna make it." He told me that you'll never survive being in a trucking relationship, and I was like, "Watch this." But and here you are 8 years later. But I think he was really his perception was that women either leave their husbands because they're lonely, or cheat on their husbands because they're lonely, or he's been told, I need something more than a phone to hold, by his
Yeah,
ex-girlfriend. So it is a hard life, like, no lie. I'm not sure who Facebook user is. I'm dumb when it comes to this stuff, so if you could just let me know. But she said, I assume, can I ask a question? Can you take at least 2 hours for your husband and you to be alone? Have time together, go for a drive, go to a movie, go out to eat, just you two. Yeah, so that's a really good idea, to actually schedule some time together.
yeah.
Just the two of us, or just the two of you. Um, it's
We try to
it's
do a date night every time I'm home, just him and I.
yes, a date night. Um,
Yeah.
and
It's
married to the
never the
road.
first.
So
Yeah, it's never the
Angie,
first crazy
yeah,
night.
Angie. Oh, Cindy. Okay, Cindy. Hello. Thank you. I was just wondering. I wanted to highlight your comment, and I wasn't sure who was Facebook user, but thank you for identifying yourself, and hello. And I hope you're doing well, Cindy.
Welcome.
Angie, I assume that's you from Married to the Road. You are Larry, so hello to you. I'm trying to keep up with the comments. So right before the show, I fell asleep for, I don't know, 40 minutes, and I kind of panicked. So I feel like I'm a little flustered right now. But um, anyway, so that's a really good idea, Cindy, to just kind of make sure that we schedule time together. I am going to make sure that Ron and I do that when he's able, when he's home. So I'll tell him about that. I'm going to.
Now,
One of my
Catherine,
viewers said,
I have a question for you, Miss Catherine. When you and Ron first got together and he was a driver, did you worry about him being out here and maybe getting lonely and stepping outside of the relationship? Is
no,
that a thought?
I never, I never worried about Ron doing that. I know it happens, and I know um, one like, and it goes both ways. Like, you either have that trust and you trust implicitly, which is how Ron and I are. We trust each other implicitly. He jokes with me all the time. He's like, "Yeah, you have guys in and out of that house all the time," and I'm like, "Shut up," like he just jokes with me, and
Yep.
but I think like, and I don't know where that trust, like maybe because we talked for 8 months before I met him in person, and I had already fallen in love with him by the time I met him. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't know if
Yep.
that's why I trust him, because we, for 8 months,
Maybe when you
I
met,
talked
you
to him
were
over.
apart. You were
What's
apart
that?
when you met. You were apart when you met,
Yep.
and you
Hmm.
built that trust over the first 8 months. And,
And if I had one tip for all the other wives, it'd be like, go with your guy at least once. Just go with him
yeah,
or her, or go with your wife,
that's a good
whatever the
idea.
case may be. Because um, I knew nothing about the truck driving world. Like, I knew nothing about the industry. I knew nothing about, hours, the hours of service. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble talking again. My thyroid's acting up. Um, I knew nothing. So everything I know about it now, I learned by asking questions. I learned by going with him. I learned, just reading articles, meeting, to talking, becoming part of the Divas. Um, and I think that's imperative. It is an absolutely imperative that the person at home understands the trucking industry.
And I totally agree with you. I think that is an absolute fantastic idea because a lot of women at home think that us solo female drivers are throwing ourselves at their men.
Mm-hmm.
They think that truck
Yes.
stops are covered with lot lizards or prostitutes. That's kind of old school. When I started in the 80s, yep, they were. They were all over the place. You'd get your door knocked on in some truck stops 3 times a night by 3 different prostitutes. But that that isn't life out here anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. To my knowledge, and I started this 35 years ago in June, have never met a female driver that has jumped in a guy's truck and bumped uglies. It just doesn't. That's not life out here. Us women, we are more prideful on doing the opposite, on being
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of looked at as untouchable. We most of us have men at home or men in the whatever, um, and a lot of wives think that we are the problem, the female drivers. And I swear to you, like men are so decent and respectful. 99% out of 100 are the most respectful, decent men out here to us females. There is nothing inappropriate said other than that 1%. But that's
There's
very
always
rare.
going to be a 1%. There's always going to be
Um,
a 1%.
yeah, yeah,
There's always going to be somebody that
yeah.
is nasty.
Like I just helped a guy this morning slide his tandems. He didn't try to repay me with something inappropriate. Granted, I'm old, fat, and ugly, but no, don't
No,
yell at me for saying that. It's a joke. Well, it's not a joke, but you know what I mean. But
I
we
love you,
help each
Terry.
other, and we help each other, and there's no expectations of anything sexual. There is
Right.
no, and I feel bad because so many of the men out here, we talk on the rate, the CP or whatever, and they're like, my wife left and I was out here just trying to make a living for her and to take care of her and my family, and she couldn't handle it and left. And that may be the only job he's ever done. Like, some guys, they grow up in the trucking industry, their fathers, their grandfathers. This is what they do. They don't do anything else.
Right.
So this is in their blood. It's what they know. And just because they're away from you doesn't mean they're doing dirty. I
Yep.
don't
That's
see
right.
that. I just don't. And I'm
Yep.
one that I'm very safety minded. So I am always watching my surroundings. I don't see any women driver hopping out of her truck, getting into another one, vice versa. You just don't see that. The guys out here, they talk about their wives and they love to talk to a woman on the CV just because they then they're not embarrassed to talk about how wonderful their wives are and how much they miss them.
Aw,
It,
that's so cute.
every day I hear that from a guy about how wonderful his wife is and his family and his kids, and that's what they want to talk about. So, ladies,
Nice.
please give your men the benefit of the doubt until you have proof. Give them a chance. They're out here busting their hump. It's hard work. If you haven't been out here, it's tiring. I think I slept 2 hours last night and 2 hours the night before, and I still have 421 miles to go today. It's not easy. And that's the goal, is for your guys to drive because they want to give you a good life. So
Yes.
unless you can prove, be real supportive. You know, my husband is like, baby, if you want to be out there, I know you're not doing bad. I know you're out there. Sorry, guys. See me. I know you're busting your hump out there. You need me, call me. They need that support. They need to know that you're trusting them, and it makes them feel better. And it makes their job easier too. They know you're doing right and going by them.
And like that kind of leads into the next one though. Like when being able to be independent is also imperative. Like I have learned how to do that and how to deal with daily stresses. And that's the tip number 2, learn how to handle daily stress. When something happens here at home, and unless it's something I really don't know how to fix or I don't know what to do, I try not to bother Ron with it because he has enough to worry about. I feel like you guys have enough to worry about out on the road, and I don't need to be telling him every little thing that happens. Now, Ron is nosy and OCD, so if he's like, what'd you do today? And then I'll tell him, and then he'll be like, well, what are they doing about that? I'm like, just relax, I got it. Like my appointments and my referrals and all the stuff and my medicines. And I'm like, it's okay, I got it. You know?
And that's funny because Paul's like that from home with me. Where you delivering time. Did you check the oil? Now that he's been out here and he knows my routine, like checking the oil. Well, did you do that today? And did you do this? And how much, you know, he challenges me in like backing up, like hit the dock first time, no pull-ups. That's, you know, something I work at. I love to do that. So he's like, how many pull-ups did it take him? How many did it take? Because if I have more than one pull-up, I get mad at myself. So it's like this joke and this bantering between us. He's like, did you make it? I'm like, yes. Or if I had to take 2, no. And so it's funny how he does that for you. And then Paul does that for me. And he's like, are your doors, every night, are your doors locked? Are your curtains secure? Is Murphy,
that's absolutely important too.
Before dark, you know. And I think that's the loving husband, no matter which role, whether they're at or on the truck, they're going to protect us and make sure that we're being as safe as possible. And, you know, he's at home and he'll call me and say, okay, like you're headed to Harrisburg, they're due for some storms tonight. And we'll check the road. There's an accident on 80 mile marker 120.
You do that.
You might want to route around. He'll tell me that. I'd be like, he's in North Dakota.
So, do you guys have like Life 360? So we use Life 360, and I can see where he is, and I'll be like, he's like, is there a better way to go? And I'll be like, yeah, do this and do that, and or you know, like he's in the winter especially, like what's the weather out in Ohio, or what's the weather out in West Virginia, because he goes that way. And
he's not on Paul's not on 360 yet, but I was going to ask you guys to show me how to add somebody so I can get him on there. He'd like that.
Yeah. It's very helpful. And that's how I give Ron directions. That's how I found, like, I'll put in all the directions from where he is to his next stop, and then look for the truck stop in between.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. So it's very easy to be involved without being overwhelming.
And you don't have to be with them. With today's technology, you can still participate in what he's doing without being on the phone. Because that's exactly what Paul does. Exactly. Like I will call him.
Larry. Angie said she'll show you.
Okay. I am the most tech stupid person. Like, I have met 5-year-olds that are better than me with tech, that know more than I do. So
Same.
I always need help with that.
The technology is far more
Like, I
advanced
had
than
to
my
get
brain.
help on how to block somebody on Messenger yesterday. Somebody had to teach me that.
Oh,
But yeah,
um,
no, it's interesting to hear your role at home because obviously, I mean, I have Paul at home, but I've never been in that role at home with the trucker gone. And I imagine, like with Paul, he's had to start doing the domestic stuff, which is new to him because when I'm home, I do it all, you know, which I think I'm supposed to and I enjoy doing. But also, he's taken on the role of taking care of my mom. So it's interesting for me to hear, like, if a pipe bursts at your house, and now all of a sudden you have to take care of it, not the man, the husband. So it it's
and
kind
I
of
fix toilets
your
and
role. Yeah, you have to do the wife and the husband work, and Paul does as well. And that's something that I think I need to show appreciation for, maybe a little more for Paul for all that he does, because he does my role. He goes and cleans the
right.
toilets and does the dishes when
Yeah.
I'm gone.
I
So
mean,
that's kind
and
of stressful in the beginning for you, was it?
um, it was. It took me a while to get used to. So when I met Ron, I was very I had really bad self confidence. I had really low self confidence, and I was very clingy because I every time he left, I thought he was not coming back. Um, and there's a story there. I'll try to keep it short. He went back to Kentucky. His grandpa had died, so he was there for like 3 weeks, and then um, every week he's like, well, something else came up. And like, there's always an excuse. This was like 3 months after he moved up here. And I actually decided, I told my mom, I'm like, watch my kids. I have to go. And she's like, go where? I'm like, I'm going to Kentucky. She's like, to get Ron? I said, yes. She said, what if he doesn't want to come back? I said, well, I guess I'll find out, won't I?
Yeah.
And I get in my car, I'm driving, and he calls me, and I'm in Maryland. And he's like, what you doing? I said, I'm driving. He said, where are you at? I said, Maryland. He said, why? I'm like, because I'm coming to get you. He's like, no, you're
To
not.
rescue my man.
He didn't believe me. I get to the Kentucky line. I call his mom. Doge, I'm crossing into Kentucky. Where do I go? She tells me what exit, how to get to the house. I walk in, and he's like, what are you doing here? And I said, I came to get you. I said, apparently either, and it was funny because I stopped in West Virginia, and I had a moment of clarity where I was like, what are you doing? Like, should I keep going or should I turn around? What if he doesn't want to come with me? What if, And he came home, but he didn't talk to me till West Virginia. I mean, he was mad. But 8 years. It's been
Yeah.
8 years. So I guess I did the right thing. But
How long after you had met did that happen?
so we started talking in April of 2014. And in May, there was a traumatic event that happened to me. And I thought for sure Ron was not going to ever come to Pennsylvania. I was convinced he would not come. And then we talked through it. I started counseling and therapy, and he tried so hard. God love him. He tried so hard to get to Pennsylvania, and he'd always get to like the Ohio line, like Pittsburgh.
Are you talking on the truck, Catherine? With
Yeah,
work? Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
He tried because he was over the road. He was his actual. It was almost dedicated. You can almost bank on it. He went Louisville to Laredo or Brownsville, Texas.
Okay.
Very rarely did he ever get up this way. He didn't think anything existed past Ohio. I was like, well, we're here. So it was October 15th that I met him. And if anyone ever tells you they're the white truck in the middle row, make sure that they turn their lights on and stand on the hood of their truck.
Every third truck is white or red.
Yeah. That's what he told me. I'm in the white truck in the middle row. I'm like, there's 30 white trucks in the
Okay,
middle row.
I'm sitting here right now and I can see 5 white trucks. No lie.
See?
I'm the only
See?
one that's not white in this parking lot. Only to the black
I was like,
corner.
so anyway, so that's how I met him at the TA in Buckhorn. And
That's funny.
when we met each other physically, it just, the spark was there, and we both sort of knew that we met our soulmate, and the rest is history. I think one of the hardest, so one of the, we're talking about stressors, right? One of the hardest stressors that I had to deal with without him was the cancer diagnosis. He knew, he counted 2 weeks, 14 days. That's what they told us. The test results will take 14 days. So on day 14, he's coming home from the yard, and I'm on the phone with the hospital, and they say, "Are you sitting down?"
Wow. They don't need to see any more, do they?
No, not really. So I sat down and I got my notebook out, and I wrote everything. I wrote everything down. I said, "Okay, go ahead." And I wrote everything down, and I didn't react because I was just taking notes in my head. And then I sat there and I looked at what I wrote, and I was like, well, I said some bad words, so I won't say them. And I said, I have breast cancer. And I didn't cry. I was like, I called Ron. I said, "Where are you?" And he said, "I'm on the way to the house." I said, "Well, meet me at my mom's." And he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Just meet me at my mom's." "Well, why?" And he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't just let it go. So I was like, "Oh, for Christ's sake, I have breast cancer." And I was mad about it because I was like, now I have to do the story over and over again because he won't just, I was mad at him about that. I wanted to do one announcement, not 5.
Right.
So
Yep.
when we got to that, I told him, and he's like, of course, starts asking me 1,000 questions. And I'm like, I don't know. I just know I have breast cancer, and I was like, I don't know. So I was a little aggravated with him over that because I felt like, just let me tell you the news the way I want to tell you the news.
Yeah.
So that was stressful, and we got through it, and then he was actually home when we got the official final diagnosis, and that was the day time stopped for me, and I dropped the phone on the floor because I was so stunned by the diagnosis. My world stopped turning, and I burst into tears. I said some more bad words, and I was pretty convinced that I was not going to beat it, because just knowing what I know about breast cancer. So he's on the phone with the woman. I have my head on the table, sobbing, tears everywhere. And he took all the notes. He wrote everything down that she told him. And he cried with me. We cried together, and we got through it. And he's my rock. He is my absolute rock. And there are days I want to throw the rock in the lake. Yes. But he's my rock. So
Now, when he's out on the road, Catherine, especially after the diagnosis, and he went back, did that affect the relationship? Did you ever feel like you should have stayed home with me longer? Did that affect
there were times I was so mad at him, I would cry because I'd be like,
he
I
had
want
to
you.
go
Yeah, I would be mad. I'd cry, and I'd be like, I hate your job. I hate your job. And I felt like, now I feel bad saying that, but I hate his job sometimes because I want him here. I had to go through chemo by myself. I had to go through everything by myself. Before my mastectomy, I saw him for all of, I don't know, half a minute. He gave me a kiss, and they're wheeling me down the hallway. So
I'm always worried if something, okay, like with my mom battling terminal cancer, if I got that phone call and then I go home and then I come back out on the road, will people think that Like if I don't take a whole lot of time off, because knowing me to breathe, I'd breathe better out here, just doing my job, quiet, peace, not being
Yeah.
around a lot of people.
Uh-huh.
Would people judge me? But then when my husband's mom died, my mother-in-law, who was an amazing, amazing woman, um, Paul was so supportive that, at that time he wasn't working. He was taking care of my mom full time. And he's like, go, honey, go. I know you need to go. And I was really close to my mother-in-law. And it seemed to help me. I spent a couple days with him, supporting him. And then he's like, honey, I know you need to go. I think if as a woman, I think sometimes the grief is harder on us. We don't process it as fast as men can.
Yes.
And
so Ron's that, Terry. He needs those miles. He needs to think and process. And I think it was probably 2 weeks it took him to process the diagnosis and accept it. And he goes out on the road, and especially if we have a fight and he has to go to work, he'll think and think and think, and then he'll call me and be like, okay. And then I'm like, are we okay? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh
yeah.
okay. Because I never know.
See, and that's crazy to me, because it's so weird that Paul and I have like this really strange relationship. We literally never fight. It's the dumbest thing. My ex-husband, who was very abusive, we didn't fight either, because I knew better than to fight back, because it would just get worse. But
right.
if for some reason Paul and I we never really have experienced that. And we've been together 20 years almost, and
yeah.
I know what I would do. We got into a big fight and I was out here. I would want to be with him,
Right.
I don't know how I would handle it, honestly. I would want to go home.
Angie said the same things, that the road is therapy. I'm going to take a short break. I want to show one of the videos for Treated Trucker. So give me a minute to find it. I'm so bad at this. Like, I'm not. Oh. Give me a minute. Sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay. We'll be back in about 30 seconds, guys.
Treated Trucker was started by Larry and Angela Baum in March of 2021. They started Treated Trucker to help feed truck drivers during the pandemic, to say thank you for keeping America going. Since then, they have gifted over 700 truck drivers with a free meal in the form of a gift certificate. It is their way of giving back to the trucking community and thanking our drivers for sacrificing time away from home and family to help supply America. Make a donation today at Treated Trucker on Facebook to give a truck driver a free meal today. We are also so excited to announce the addition that Lori and James Underwood are joining us to help gift even more truckers.
That must be an old commercial. Terry, did we lose you, honey?
I'm here. No, I'm here. Hold on 1 second, please.
Sure.
I can still talk. My camera's just acting up. Hold on while I try to get it fixed. I still hear everything.
Okay. So with being in a trucking relationship, one of the other things that you have to remember to do, and sometimes it's hard because we do become so independent, is to be open and honest with your spouse, your trucking spouse. So from my standpoint, I tell Ron everything. I tell him everything, whether he's home or away. I just try to do it in a manner that's not, overwhelming for him, because like I said before, he has enough to worry about out on the road. He doesn't need me to add to it. On the flip side, he is obsessive compulsive and needs to know what is going on at home. And especially because of the diagnosis, because of my breast cancer, and 13-year-olds are challenging on a good day. And my surgeon does not want me to be under any kind of stress. So he worries, basically. And So I try to be honest about everything, but there's some things where I'm just like, I'll wait. I'll wait to talk to him. I want him here face to face because I don't want to add more stress to him when he's on the road. I don't like doing that, and I try not to. Like I try to be very conscientious of what I tell him
And you know
over the
what's
phone.
funny, Catherine, is as somebody in the opposite role, and I'm sorry about my camera, everybody. I'm trying. Um, but I think
Oh,
I catch Paul doing the same thing, Catherine, not wanting to add or upset me. Um, but I think it upsets me more when I find out that he's not telling me something important. The only thing that I know he will tell me is about my mom, but you know, I do the same to him though. Like I got bit by a snake recently, and as it was coming near my dog, and it was a non-poisonous, non-venomous snake, but it was something that I knew he would worry about. So I didn't tell him for like a week. And then when I knew it was healing nicely, and he was like, "What in the heck? Why didn't you tell me?" And I'm like, "Well, I didn't want you to worry about me." He's like, "Stop it." So I think I wish he wouldn't worry so much because that makes me sad that he worries about me, and I'm sure Ron feels the same, you know. But yet I respect that. I appreciate because I want to always protect him too, and I don't want him to worry about me out here. Like if I'm having to park in an iffy area, you know, if he asks me, I will not lie to him. If he, because sometimes he'll be like, "Put it on camera, let me see where you're at." I'm not going to lie to him. I'm not going to hide something like, like deceive him. But at the same time, I feel bad about worrying him. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think that it does go both ways. But I loved what you said about absolute transparency when it comes to anything important. I will tell Paul I mean, everything. If it, except for the stuff that I really think he's going to worry. So I guess I'm contradicting myself. I tell him almost everything. There's a few things like this. I know I sound dumb.
I
Um,
know you're fine.
a few things I don't tell him when I know they're not bad, and he'll just worry when there's no reason to worry. But when it comes to matters of the heart, if I'm upset or sad or happy, I share all of that with him. We are very close. So I think what you said is so important. You
That's
have
so
to have
funny.
good communication if you're going to make it in this
Mhm.
industry. Even if
It's
you're
funny you
struggling.
said that because you kind of led into the next tip, which was your relationship with your partner must come first.
Absolutely. If Paul told me to quit driving tomorrow, he's my husband. I will respect that. He's the leader of my household. I would quit tomorrow. He comes first, hands down, before any income. I'd rather be homeless living in my car with him and knowing our relationship is solid than out here in the truck
Mhm.
making money and we're having problems.
You
Because
sound like me. I always tell Ron I would rather have a bad day with him than not have him at all.
yep,
Like, um, he doesn't. He is all about taking care of me. So, long ago we had the discussion that I would never tell him. Like, I would never tell him what to do. Do I tell him I hate his job sometimes? Absolutely. Do I tell him I wish he didn't drive? Yes, of course I do. Because I do want him home. I do want him with me when I go to my appointments. However, he wants to take care of me, and so him driving it is what it is right now,
yeah,
and that it is what, like I always say, it is what it is. And there's times like he'll call while I'll be at a certain appointment so he can hear what I'm hearing.
yep.
um, but there's still a little piece of me that's a little, what's the word I'm looking for, like, not mad, but kind of mad because, like, I went through chemo by myself. Like, I went through all
Kind
this
of
stuff by I feel like
envious of his job. Yep.
yeah. So that's challenging for me because I do want him home.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, I know what he's told me is that it's it's harder on him because he knows that I'm by myself and he wants to be there with me and he can't be. And so he feels guilty for driving. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't feel guilty for doing your job. Like, so it's kind of really hard.
Oh yeah.
And then, you know, as far as putting our relationship first, uh, we do that, but there's, I don't want to say consequences to us putting our relationship first, but there kind of is.
Oh, absolutely. You miss out on miles. I'll take an extra day just for us to go for I think it was Cindy had said that. We'll go for a drive up in the country and I'll let them know, hey, you know what? I'm not ready to leave on Monday. I'll leave on Tuesday. And thank goodness I work for a company that'll let me do that. And that's
Oh, that's
wonderful.
nice.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. But yeah, you're right. There are consequences. It's income.
Well, so like for me, it impacts my other relationships. So my relationship with my kids, my relationship with my mother. My mother's very, this is going to sound really awful, guys, and I hate saying it, but my mother's kind of jealous. She's very manipulative and she can be very vindictive. So I try to tread lightly, but yeah, like it's a whole thing. And so if I put Ron first and I do for me, I do something just me and him, she's like, oh, well, what about Chloe? And I'm like, can you watch Chloe? Or can Chloe come up to your house? Like she's just the way she words things it's like arrows through the heart.
And see, my mom is very similar. In some ways, she is very angry that I drive. She hates that I drive. It almost makes me not want to talk to her because every day she says, when are you done? When are you going to quit that mess and come home? When are you done? And yeah. I took time off when she was diagnosed and went through radiation and chemo. I couldn't be there with her because because of COVID. But as soon as she was done, I went home, and she's lived with us for, a long time now. But I deal with that guilt because she lays the guilt on. She was like, it's so unsafe. It's so this. It's so, why don't you just come home? You're getting old now. You've been doing this for over 3 decades. Give it up already. And I'm like, Mom, stop. She's like, but I miss you. I'm like, Mom, what she doesn't understand is that we've never told my mother how expensive her medications and her supplies are. My check goes all to her. Without that, we wouldn't be able to, and we still don't get it all covered every month. So I'm not putting that on her. I won't let her know. I will not. It'll just make, her guilty, and I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. But in turn, then she makes me feel guilty. So it's all of the relationship dynamics when one of you is a driver is affected by the choices we make and by our job. Not just spousal, your relationship with your kids. Dads are out here missing their children, missing birthdays, important dates,
Right.
So you're right. It affects all of your relationships in your life when you or your spouse is a driver, not just the marriage.
No, it's very hard. And I love how we're leading into each tip. So one way to keep that relationship fresh and keep forward motion, right? Is so tip number 5 is have contact with each other every day. I do absolutely. And some days he has so many stops and I know that he won't be able to call or whatever. Just a message. Just call me when you can. I just wanted to say good morning. I know you're busy, blah, 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 blah. And inevitably the phone will ring. Like
and it makes us feel closer to home when we get that, Catherine. It does. When Paul takes his first break in the morning, I usually drive a little bit later at night, so I'm usually not up yet. He starts at like 4 in the morning, so his break is really early. So he'll text me on break, sweetheart, good morning, I love you, I'll talk to you at lunchtime. And he calls me every day at lunch. And I had to tell him this morning, I'm not going to be able to answer your call at lunch. So he's not calling me today. He's like, really? Why? And then at clockwork, 5 minutes after he's off, he calls me because he has like a 20-mile drive home. And that
Right.
is so essential. Even like you said, that little message for me to wake up and see that message, it's like, ah,
Just, oh, he was thinking about me.
yeah,
Sometimes he'll send me, like, he'll be up before me sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I wake up and I have a text, "Good morning, beautiful." And that's all it says. And I'm like, oh,
Paul
because I'm a
actually
big
had
cat.
flowers delivered to my truck in a truck stop once, a couple years, 5 years ago, maybe for Valentine's Day. He had literally, I'm sitting in my truck and a flower delivery van pulls up nose to my truck and brings me 2 dozen roses right to my truck.
Oh, that was awesome.
And, little things like that. Well, that's not
They mean a lot.
huge, but, you know, it, yeah. So when I get home, I can tell you if Paul has like a nice dinner planned, because the first day home, you're just like, oh, I'm finally out of the truck, or because I take my bobtail home. So I literally go from the truck to our front door. And it's just like, so a tip for the wives that have hubbies out there, when your hubby is coming home, just be there for anything to let him vent. I mean, we might have driven really hard to get home because we want to get home to you. Just, kind of be that support system. And that's what we need, because we feel bad every day we're away from our family and our spouse and our partner. I feel like it's my fault. It's my response. I'm the one that chose this, even though I did it before we met.
Right.
And just to walk in the door and have him standing there. And I'm not saying like, okay, one time he did stand there in some sexy boxer shorts when my mom wasn't home, and that was really sweet and really adorable. And I laughed my butt off.
I bet.
He literally had silky boxer shorts with big red lips on him. And I walk in and he's like, "Hey, baby." And I busted up. Um, but just those little things like that can immediately make us smile and laugh. And that's so special. It really is.
And it helps keeps things spicy.
Absolutely. And that intimacy is
Yeah.
it's not just about sex.
No.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, hi, Murphy.
It's about just like that one-on-one, like Cindy said, date night, one-on-one. Something as simple as just holding his hand could make him feel so amazing. Like, thank you for what you've done this last month out on the truck. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny. Like the first night when Ron comes home, we don't, he gets, he unpacks his suitcase. He puts his clothes in the laundry, whatever. We eat because he's usually home by supper time, but we change into our pajamas and we sit on the couch and we just kind of snuggle. We snuggle.
That's exactly.
That's our word.
Yep.
That's our word. Snuggle. And we lay, and then we go to bed and I just lay and I put my head on his shoulder and I lay on his chest and I just lay there because I'm so happy that he's there. So it doesn't even have to be intimate.
No.
It's just the touch. Having that touch is the best feeling for me. And of course he's thinking other things. But
for a man on the road, that first night for some guys, especially the younger guys, that may be what's on their mind. But like, as we get older, we might need to rest that first night.
Yeah.
And then
I've had Ron come home also and just kind of be like, "Come on," grabs me by the hand and off we go because there's no kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And even if he's not up for sex, just let him know that you're there and you appreciate him. And honestly, like, Paul will look at me and he'll say, "Honey, thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for what you do to contribute to this family." And that's like melts your heart. And thank him because he's out there working hard. Let him know that you appreciate them. And
I tell Ron? What? I tell Ron that I'm proud of him.
Yep.
And he always is like, "For what?" And I'm like, "Look at how long you've been doing this, and you help other truckers, you buy their coffees, you like you always do for others." And I said, "So I'm really proud of you for that."
And that's
And
funny
he's
because
like,
I tell Paul that, and he's like, "For what?" He says the exact same thing. I'm like, "You take care of my mother. You do wound care. You wipe her butt. You bathe her. You take care of her, like A to Z. She is so well taken care of. Plus, he works 50 plus hours a week." I'm like, "I am so proud of you." And he's like, "For what?" It's exactly the same. Exactly.
hello. I just want to say hello to Facebook user that just said hello all, but I don't know who you are. So I'm wondering if it's
I do
Lori,
think it's
maybe.
important to show appreciation to your guy and let him know that even though he's away from you, you do understand that he's out there working his tail end off. This is not easy, and if you've ridden along, you know that
Yep.
everything, it seems every day is getting tougher and tougher on us with the laws, the parking. Um,
Mhm.
just show appreciation and let him
Yep.
know that you trust him, because that means the world. When Paul looks at me and he says something like, "Baby, just be safe. You know, I trust you to make the right choices out there." That means a lot, to know that he trusts me I mean, like, to no end.
Trust
There
is the
is
key.
never a doubt. That makes me feel less guilty about coming out here and spending 2 weeks,
Yeah.
3 weeks out here. It really
Yeah.
can, just the tiniest words or the smallest gesture really can make a difference.
Hmm. I just want to stop and say hello to Diane.
Hi, Diane.
And I think our newest member to the Divas is joining us too. But here, is it Kira?
Kendra?
Kendra. I'm so sorry, Kendra.
Is
Bitch
that
slap me.
Kendra? Is that really
Yeah,
Kendra?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So I just want to say, hey, I'm Catherine, and PJ's with me today.
I talked to
So
you
glad you
earlier,
joined me,
Kendra.
guys.
Kendra, I'm
Yeah.
the one that called you. I
So
called you.
Kira, she wrote it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we owe you one for getting your name wrong. I am so sorry. I apologize from the
Sorry.
bottom of my heart. We're gonna blame chemo brain for that one. But anyway, welcome. This is our Wednesday Wive show. So glad you're with us. Um, just to finish up the show, you said about trust. Trust is the absolute key to a successful relationship in the trucker industry. And it is something that I feel like a lot of couples they struggle with. Like, I
Yeah.
kind of feel like if you don't have trust, you don't have much to go on. And again, I trust Ron implicitly. Like, there is no doubt in my mind that he is utterly faithful to me. Same for me. Like, he
Yeah.
does not question me ever, ever. Um, and it's so funny because we'll be somewhere and he gets hit on all the time. And I'm just like, nope, he's mine. Oh,
Yeah.
you're a lucky girl. I'm like, yes, I am. I know I'm a lucky girl. Like, no doubt in my mind. So, um, well, keep
Stop.
that trust up. Hi, Murphy.
It doesn't matter how much you love somebody. If there's no trust, there's no relationship. It's that simple.
Mhm.
You know, and it's the same for Paul and I. Like, I don't doubt for a second where his loyalties are. I don't. And he knows I'd cut my fingers off before I'd hurt him and ruin our marriage.
Right.
And
No,
that,
same.
so, and this is probably the industry where you need the trust the most of almost any occupation out there, because of the distance. It's unbelievable.
It is. And, with that being said, you never stop working at it either. Like, sure, we've come across problems and we've had our issues and, um, disagreements, whatever, but we don't give up on each other
That's right.
ever, ever, ever. Like, not an option. And I think Ron, for me, Ron underestimates himself. Like, he is a good man. He has a good heart. He is a family man. He loves his family. He wants to provide for them. He hates being away from them, but he's good at what he does. He's been driving for almost 28 years. So he's almost at the 30 mark. And communicate. So there's too many Facebook users and I'm getting confused. So I apologize if I get this wrong. I'm going to say Kira said this, but I could be wrong. Agreed, got out of a 10-year toxic relationship and a new one with my girl, and she lives on the truck with me. That's amazing. One day I want to be able, like Ron and I have plans for that. Amazing time we have. Communication is our biggest thing. Communication is so important. and again, that transparency and trust and all the things that we've talked about is so important in relationships in the trucking industry, because they're hard. It's a hard life. It's a hard life for the truck driver. I apologize.
Okay.
I'm having a lot of trouble talking today. I don't know if it's my thyroid I'm having trouble with. I'm having trouble with my brain. I don't know what it is. So I apologize that I'm stuttering and like flustered about it. But anyway, I wanted to tell you one of the things that, so I'm going to talk about sex for a minute, guys. Since I've had my breast cancer, I've been at this for 18 months. My sex drive isn't what it was, if that makes sense. I know I'm getting kind of personal here, but everyone, like, this is stuff that I know I'm not the only trucker's wife with cancer, and I struggle with my image, my self-image. I've lost my breasts. I have, what are they called? Not implants.
Enhancers, expanders.
Yeah, expanders. I have expanders in, and I don't have any nipples anymore because they couldn't save them. So I struggle really bad with my self-image. Oh, and because my thyroid's bad, I can't lose weight. I keep gaining, but I don't lose, and I'm frustrated by that. So, like, there's a lot of different pieces to this breast cancer thing, and I do not feel at all sexy. I do not feel attractive. I do not feel. I wear hats a lot because I hate my hair, because I had really long hair before and I hate my hair. Everyone tells me how cute it is. And, like, I know they that they see it and it probably does look good to them, but to me, it's not me. And so Ron is fabulous at building me up and, making me feel sexy and making me feel wanted. And
Right.
Because that is a struggle for me to feel that drive. I hope I didn't get too personal, guys. That was a lot, and it was hard for me to talk about because it's so out of everything. Like, I mean, I have this on my arm, I have lymphedema, I have neuropathy in my feet, I have mouth sores, which means awesome. I like lots of dairy products. So it's not just breast cancer, and it affects so many parts of my life. And Ron is always in that pod with me. So just, don't give up on your driver or your wife or husband at home or on the road, whatever your case may be. Let's see. We have some.
Catherine,
I'm gonna.
a lot of women, Catherine, deal with that aren't going through what you're going through. Self-esteem, looks. Like, I'm in my 50s now. I'm overweight. I don't find myself attractive, and that's a struggle for women nationwide. Worldwide it is. But
yes,
like you said, a man that's supportive and loving, he'll help you through it.
Yeah, I am so glad, Diane. Diane says, same. When I had breast cancer, I got dressed and undressed in my closet. Yeah, I don't like people like him to see me. Richard told her he didn't marry her for her boobs. That's funny because Ron says that. And then Kira said, girl, I feel you. I'm transgender, male to female. I wear wigs and stuff. My hair fell out, so I get that feeling. And what's hard for me, Kira? And like, I was never a girl. Like, a girly girl, I should say. I don't wear makeup. I never felt like I needed to. This is me without makeup all the time. I just like I'll wear it to like date night or like when my cousin got married. I mean, I just don't wear makeup that often. And I have a wig, and we look at each other, and then it goes back in the closet because I'm too tired to fool with this thing. And, I was bald at one point. All my hair fell out from the chemo, my first round. And I mean, like all the hair everywhere fell out. And I mean, I kept trying to see like, okay, so the positive, I didn't have to shave. um, now like the chemo's oral. Like I take it orally. And this is what they tell me: don't touch the pills, wear gloves, wash your hands. And I'm thinking, and you want me to put this in my mouth? So now I have like these sores and ulcers in my mouth and on my tongue, and so I can't eat like anything spicy. I miss my tacos. I miss Taco Tuesday. And Ron is always like, you're, and I get tired. That's the thing he doesn't understand. So fatigue is a real thing, guys. Fatigue and tired are two different things. Fatigue is bone crushing fatigue, like lay on the couch and not want to walk to the bathroom. So he doesn't get that, and we have had words about it, and we talk through it. We talk through whatever the issue is, and I'm tired and I don't want to walk downstairs to do the laundry. That's my thing. Like, I don't want to do it. Not to mention I hate laundry. Laundry is my most favorite chore. But sorry, I feel like I was rambling there for a second. Sorry. So, do you have anything else to add, Terry?
I just think it's sad when I hear that the wives have left their trucker because of his job. I think that when you're at home, like you had said, you said probably the most important thing of the hour. If you get an opportunity, take it to go out there, even if it's just for 2 days, and kind of see what your spouse does, how life is out here. And maybe it'll be easier for you to understand what goes on out here versus what you thought goes on out here. This is a very work hard, no playtime kind of career. So, yeah, Murphy's flipping her water bowl over. I guess she.
Oh no,
sorry. But yeah, just take the chance, go out and see what your guy is doing, and give the benefit of the doubt. And I love that you said reach out and talk every day, hear each other's voice at least once a day. That's so important.
It is
to keep bonded, keep that bond.
I used to think, and with that, like I used to think doing that made me needy or clingy or whatever. And Ron's like, no, no, you are not. Both you ladies are extremely gorgeous and inspiring. Thank you for being you and being here. Catherine, thanks for fighting through. I'm trying. I have my moments where I'm like, done fighting for today. Done. I get tired a lot lately, like, and just kind of like, by tired I mean like I'm so done, but I'm not done, and I won't be done till August. So, the news from the doctor was that they don't want to say I'm cancer free because they don't know. My surgeon, Doc Turner, he put it this way. He said, we're as close to cancer free as comfortably as we can get. So I'll take it. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you guys for coming and talking to us today and hanging out with us for an hour. We went a little over, sorry, but yeah. Terry, thank you for coming on the show. I am going to sit in the next week. I'm going to think about what direction I want to take the show. I know it is the Wednesday Wife Show. and I'm contemplating adding another third person back into the show. So I'm going to think about that, and I will update everybody and talk to Angie about it and see where we can take this, because I have a really good idea right now. But I want to talk to Angie first. So that being said, whoever's driving, please be safe.
If any of you viewers have topics that you'd like us to cover, please feel free to, give us your ideas. If there's something bothering you or something going on that you think might be valuable that, we can share and talk about, please don't hesitate to tell us.
Yes, please reach out. I am like the most easy person to talk to. I am very people friendly, and like I love talking. I talk too much sometimes. I know it's like 10 after 2. Thank you again for the kind words. Like, you guys are amazing and inspiring, each and every one of you, each and every day. So if you ever have anything you want us to talk about, or if you want to join us, please shoot me a message or PM me, and we will see you next week. If I had my list in front of me, I would tell you what we're talking about, but I don't have my list in front of me, so I don't remember what I scheduled. But chemo brain. But we will catch you next week. And
thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, everybody be safe. Love you guys. I will talk to you next week, or sooner, maybe. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.